It was the middle of winter. A hungry lion wandered silently through the snowy village. Not far away, Benaiah stopped suddenly after noticing enormous lion paw prints. Benaiah quietly followed the tracks. The tracks ended beside a deep pit. Suddenly, a violent lion roar echoed from the darkness below him. He looked down and saw a lion, whispering, "If I leave it, someone will die tonight." But to understand this, we must first return to the beginning of Benaiah's journey. He didn't have a royal name. He didn't have a massive army behind him. He was just the son of a priest from a small town. But while other men stayed inside, warming their hands by the fire, he was out in the freezing cold. His name was Benaiah. And this is not just a story about a soldier. It is the story of the most dangerous man in the Bible. A man who was chosen by God to protect the greatest kings of Israel. Without hesitating, Benaiah jumped down into the icy pit. There was no room to run. There was no place to hide. Just a man, a wild, hungry lion, and the freezing cold. The lion roared, showing its massive teeth, and leaped right at him. Benaiah didn't step back. He met the beast head-on. In a flash of pure bravery, Benaiah struck the lion down. When Benaiah climbed out of that pit, covered in snow and blood, he was no longer just a normal man. He was a legend. But what he didn't know was that this little movement, it was going to pull him away from the quiet life he knew and throw him straight into the middle of a dangerous, bloody game for the throne. News of Benaiah's strength spread quickly. Soon, he found himself fighting in the army of King David. David was the greatest king of Israel, a man who loved God, but a man surrounded by enemies. One day, Israel was facing the army of Moab. The Moabites were fierce. They had two brothers leading them. These two men were known as the greatest warriors in all of Moab. They were fast, strong, and completely ruthless. They challenged the Israelites, mocking them. "Is there no one who will fight us? Are David's men just little boys?" The Israelite soldiers were nervous, but Benaiah stepped forward. The two brothers charged at him at the exact same time. It was 2 against 1. But Benaiah was too smart and his faith was too strong. With smooth, deadly focus, he fought them both. He dodged their heavy swords and struck back. In a matter of minutes, the two greatest heroes of Moab were dead in the dirt. Benaiah wiped his blade, turned around, and walked back to his camp. King David was watching. He saw that Benaiah was not just strong, he was completely fearless. Time passed. The battles continued. But Benaiah's greatest test on the battlefield was still waiting for him. Israel went to war against an Egyptian army, and the Egyptians had a secret weapon, a giant. This Egyptian man was absolutely huge. He stood almost 8 feet tall. His arms were like tree trunks. But the most terrifying thing about him was his weapon. He carried a spear so thick and heavy that a normal man couldn't even lift it. The giant laughed as he looked at the Israelite army. "Send me your best! I will feed him to the birds!" Benaiah looked down at his own hands. He had lost his sword in the battle. He had no shield. All he had in his hand was a thick wooden stick, a simple club. His men tried to stop him. "You can't fight him! He has a giant spear! You only have a stick! It's suicide!" The weapon doesn't make the warrior, and the warrior doesn't win without God. Benaiah walked straight toward the giant. "You! Come to fight me with a stick? Are you a dog?" The giant pulled back his massive arm and thrust the heavy spear straight at Benaiah's chest. It was a strike that would have cut any other man in half. But Benaiah didn't freeze. He moved with incredible speed. He stepped to the side, letting the heavy spear miss him by just an inch. Then, before the giant could pull his arm back, Benaiah grabbed the wooden shaft of the spear. With a massive pull, Benaiah ripped the heavy weapon right out of the giant's hands. He suddenly realized he was totally unarmed. Benaiah didn't wait. He spun the massive spear around and used the giant's own weapon against him. The giant fell to the ground, dead. When King David saw this, he knew Benaiah was rare. David didn't just want Benaiah in his army anymore, he wanted him close. David made Benaiah the captain of his own personal bodyguard, the Cherethites and the Pelethites, the most elite, deadly soldiers in the kingdom. Benaiah's job was simple: keep King David alive. For years, Benaiah stood silently by the king's throne. He watched, he listened, he protected. While politicians argued and princes played games, Benaiah was the quiet shadow in the room. He didn't care about gold. He didn't care about power. He only cared about loyalty. But years went by, and King David grew old, very old. He could no longer lead the army. He could no longer walk outside. He stayed in his bed, shivering from the cold, even with heavy blankets. And when a king is dying, dangerous men start to get greedy. David had not yet announced who would be the next king, but God had already chosen Solomon, David's younger son. However, David's older son, Adonijah, was proud and greedy. He wanted the crown for himself. He knew his father was too weak to stop him. So, Adonijah made a secret plot to steal the throne. "My father is dying. The kingdom is mine. We will throw a massive feast. We will invite the army commanders. We will take the crown today." Adonijah was smart. He knew he needed powerful men on his side. So he invited Joab, the supreme commander of the whole army. Joab agreed to help him. Then, Adonijah invited Abiathar, the high priest. The priest also agreed to help. With the army commander and the high priest on his side, Adonijah thought he was unstoppable. They went outside the city, killed sheep and cattle, and started a massive party. People began shouting, "Long live King Adonijah!" But Adonijah made one massive mistake. He didn't invite Benaiah. He knew Benaiah could not be bought. He knew Benaiah could not be tricked. And he knew that if Benaiah was there, his plan would fail. Back in the palace, David's wife Bathsheba and the prophet Nathan rushed into the king's bedroom. They warned David about the plot. "If you die today, Solomon and I will be killed." King David was old, but his mind was still sharp. He knew what he had to do. He called for the only men he could truly trust. He called for Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah. "Take my royal mule. Put my son Solomon on it. Take him down to the spring of Gihon. Anoint him as king over Israel. Blow the trumpet and shout, 'Long live King Solomon! He will sit on my throne.'" David looked up at Benaiah. He needed to know that the royal guard was ready to fight. Because if Adonijah's men attacked, it would mean a bloody civil war in the streets of Jerusalem. Benaiah stepped forward. He didn't hesitate. "May the Lord, the God of my lord the king, say so too. Just as the Lord was with you, may he be with Solomon. We will make his throne even greater than yours." And just like that, the quiet shadow moved into action. Benaiah led his elite guards down the streets of the city. They put young Solomon on the king's royal mule. They marched down to the water. The priest poured the holy oil on Solomon's head. The trumpet was blown, and the people erupted into cheers. The sound was so loud, the Bible says the ground shook. Far away, at his secret party, Adonijah heard the noise. "What is that sound? What is that sound? Why is the city in an uproar?" A messenger ran into the party, completely out of breath. "King David has just made Solomon king, and Benaiah and the royal guard are with him. The whole city is celebrating." When Joab and the other guests heard Benaiah's name, Their blood ran cold. They knew what Benaiah was capable of. They knew they could not defeat him. Panic set in. The party was over. Everyone dropped their food and ran for their lives. Adonijah was so terrified, he ran to the altar of God and held onto the horns, begging for mercy. Solomon showed him mercy that day, but the kingdom was not fully safe yet. King David finally passed away, leaving his final words of wisdom to his son. But a king cannot rule a peaceful country. Solomon was traitors are still breathing in his court. Adonijah couldn't accept defeat. He tried another sneaky trick to claim the throne. He tried to take one of David's former servants as his wife, to make himself look like the true king. Solomon realized that Adonijah would never stop trying to start a war. He had to be stopped, and there was only one man to send: Benaiah. Go! Strike him down! Benaiah didn't ask questions. He didn't hesitate. He walked to Adonijah's house and ended the threat forever. Next was Joab. Joab had been David's army commander for years, but he was a violent, disloyal man who had murdered innocent people for his own power. He had betrayed David, and he had helped Adonijah. When Joab heard Benaiah was coming for him, he ran to the sacred tent of God. He grabbed the horns of the altar, thinking no one would dare kill him in a holy place. Benaiah walked into the tent. The air was heavy. The king says, "Come out." "No, I will die here." Benaiah stopped. He was a soldier, but he respected God. He went back to King Solomon to ask what to do. Do as he says. Strike him down there and bury him. Take away the guilt of his innocent murders from my family. Benaiah returned to the tent. Benaiah raised his sword and brought justice to the kingdom. With the traitors gone, the kingdom of Israel finally had peace. King Solomon promoted Benaiah. He was no longer just the captain of the bodyguard. Benaiah was made the supreme commander of the entire army of Israel, the boy from a small town, the man who chased a lion into a pit on a snowy day. He was now the highest-ranking general in the most powerful kingdom in the world. He didn't get there by plotting in the shadows. He didn't get there by betraying his friends. He got there through fierce loyalty, through raw courage, and through an unbreakable faith in God.
Hey guys, these videos takes many hours of hard work. If you could, please like the video and subscribe. Also, we want to see which countries our videos reach. If you could please comment which country you're watching from, it'll truly help us. See you till the next video.